Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone Season 1, Episode 7. It's called The Lonely. So full spoilers for the episode, as always. And I'll be honest, Tara, I don't think there's any two people more equipped to talk about an episode called The Lonely than me and you.
It's so sad and true.
Oh.
If you think you're hurting my feelings, you're not. I think about it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, Tara was just saying before we started that she's ordered her sex bot. It's on the way, and she'll
Yeah,
review it. That'll be an episode.
thanks, Twilight Zone. I didn't know they've been available since the 50s.
Yes, that is a reference to the episode ahead. I love to think that some people watch these reviews without watching the episodes. So that sex bot joke just like came out of nowhere and was like, wait, why are we talking about sex bots? What's happening? So yeah, so this episode's called The Lonely, and it's about a man named Corey who is living on an asteroid, which you only know because it tells you. If it didn't tell you in the narration, you wouldn't know it was an asteroid.
Right, because it looks like
A planet.
the desert.
Yeah.
It looks like all the sets of Star Trek.
No, that is a lie, because the original Star Trek never actually shot on location. It was always a set with a really bad painting, a matte painting. They were never this big. This at least looked fairly expansive when they were outside.
The spaceship set looked a little Star Trek.
Okay, sure. I'll give you that one. I'm like, how dare you say this is better than Star Trek? No, I will defend Star Trek.
Are you kidding? Do you know who you're talking to? I would never.
Do you know who I am? I don't know what your version of the goddamn Batman is, but I feel like that's where that was heading. So yeah, so he's actually, we find out he's a criminal. He's a convicted criminal, and this is his punishment. He's imprisoned here on this asteroid to live alone in this little house, this little tiny house. He's got like an old-fashioned car outside. Old-fashioned by even the 59 standards, not just old-fashioned by our standards. Mm-hmm. And every 3 months, a rocket lands with a crew of 3 who bring him supplies. And he's lonely. That's obvious, as the title would imply. He's very lonely. When they show up, he's like, "Oh, stay for a little while and play some cards with me, or play some chess, and just hang out." He likes this guy Appleby, who comes.
I love his turn when he sees like the rocket ship, and how he goes from just being completely miserable to being like a kid at Disneyland. Oh yeah, just everything is just the greatest.
It's Christmas morning. He's excited. He's checking that he's got stuff in the fridge for him. He's checking that he's got his makeshift checkers board out.
Everything's ready to go.
He's so excited, and he runs up, and the guy's like, "Oh no, the layover's only going to be 15 minutes this time because of the orbits." And he's like, "15 minutes? That's not enough time for anything." No, please. You have to stay. You have to play some games, because he says like, "Oh, if we don't go in the next 15 minutes, we're going to be here for 14 days." And he's like, his eyes light up.
That's
he's like, 14 days? Oh, I can put you up for 14 days. I'll sleep on the floor. You guys can share the bed. So, and then Appleby clearly is sympathetic towards him, because we find out that he still claims he killed someone in self-defense, and Appleby sympathizes with that.
He's hoping for a pardon.
And Appleby in his way, he's like, "Hey, look, there's a crate here, which I could lose my job if anyone found out why I brought you. So wait until we're out of sight before you open it, and the instructions are in there. It'll activate on its own." And I'm like, and for the record, once the episode started, I remembered this.
What Rod Serling brought out last week?
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, once the episode started, because I couldn't remember the episode itself, but when it started, I remembered seeing it before. I was like, "Oh, I remember this setting. I remember him being lonely. I remember all this stuff." And sure enough, in the crate is a robot, or a robot, as they pronounce it on this show.
Robot.
Yes. No. Stupid 50s people can't be having it. So
I love it. I love the way they say it. Robot.
It's like a frog. Rabbit.
Yeah.
Rabbit. So he's got a sex bot. Now, they never actually say in the episode that he's using it for sex, right? But let's be honest, though. Every night he's going to bed, because there's an 11th month time jump after the ad break. So you know for a fact he's had his dick in every orifice he could on that thing. I guarantee it.
It's definitely a sex bot. Yeah.
They're just not allowed to say that he's doing that. Instead, he's at first he's mad. At first he's like, I don't need a robot. This is unnatural. It's almost like he's
Yeah.
ashamed because this makes him realize how lonely he is. That this is supposed to fulfill that.
He's embarrassed that somebody had to bring him, uh, a companion
Mm.
that's more than a sock.
I don't know how to follow that up. You've brought this to a low that I did not see coming.
Well, yeah, so he's clearly embarrassed or ashamed or something in the beginning about it, but then once he sees that she has real feelings and she has the ability to be, hurt and starts crying, then he makes a switch. Like then he has compassion for her.
Yeah, he has compassion, and then they're together. They're under the stars, watching them. But it's a good job this asteroid has atmosphere, isn't it? Um,
Yeah, right.
and eventually it's like, okay, it's time for the visit. Oh, or it's not time for the visit. It's just another couple of months. But the ship's coming down, and it's like, okay, we'll see them tomorrow. See what's happening. And sure enough, Appleby gets off the ship, and he's like, hey, it's happened. They've revoked all of this form of punishment. This asteroid, leaving people on their own. That's all done. You're coming home, and he's all happy. He's excited. And you know where this is going. He can't bring her back because he says, "Oh, you can bring £15 worth of luggage, but we've had to strip the ship bare
Yeah.
so that everyone we've picked up can all fit." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to get on there. Me and
Alicia?
Alicia, that was it. Yeah, me and Alicia are going to get on the ship, and it gets really awkward. He's like, "Oh, I forgot about her. Sorry, but like, she's part of the luggage. You can't bring her. She's over £15." And
Yeah, I like that he immediately just assumed that she was a passenger and wasn't
yeah,
considered stuff, you know.
and we have this really dark ending where Appleby, because again they've got like a 20-minute window before they have to leave,
Hmm.
to try and prove, because Corey takes him to Alicia. He's like, hey, show them that you're a person, that you have feelings, that you think for yourself. And
Hmm.
notably, she doesn't say anything. She's quiet the whole time. And basically, to basically end this and get him on the ship, Appleby takes out his sidearm and shoots her in the face.
And somehow there's zero jizz that comes out of the robot when that happens, because she's full. I will say I do really like the design of the robot. I thought, or excuse me, robot.
Robot, yes.
I thought when the actual design of the look of her with all the gears and stuff was really effective.
It was very Westworld, I thought. The like the way her face was blown off, and it was just all these mechanical parts underneath. That I like that. It's such a dark ending, and I think there's a couple of implications here, because it's this really sort of down moment after he shot her where Appleby's like, hey, like, you had your memories here, but you're going to be home, and he's basically like, yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I suppose I'll have to remember that. It's a very downbeat moment where it's not like he turns around, like, realizes that he's been kind of nuts. It's not like he seems
Hmm.
genuinely upset that he's going to, like, miss her, and
Yeah, but he doesn't have that moment either where he like accuses him of Appleby of murder
yeah,
for shooting her. Like he does recognize that maybe he's gone too far. But I had sympathy for the fact that he wasn't allowed to bring her. I thought, oh, they're just gonna leave her on the asteroid all by herself. Like that sucks because she can have feelings and
well,
loneliness.
I'm not so sure she can. I actually think her not talking when she's been spoken to for like a good few lines
Mm.
before she's shot actually maybe implies that she never really did have that much like conscience before. It was like mainly him projecting himself onto
Mm.
her.
It was a
Uh,
Wilson situation, huh?
it was a Wilson situation, yeah. Uh, that said, though, right before she gets shot, she does look really scared, and she kind of like almost looks around like she's like a wounded animal looking for someone to protect her, and then boom, dead. But I think I kind of like the ending of this because it leaves it in this really bitter note that doesn't really have like a good answer. It's not like, because obviously it being science fiction, we're like, is the point of the story that she can be a person, she can have thoughts and feelings, and she is sentient. Is the point of
Yeah.
the story that
Mhm.
he's went nuts? It doesn't give you a clear answer of either. It just kind of leaves it in this really like unknown place.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of, I don't know, I had to take like a psychology class once where I don't remember the name of the scientist that did the study, but it was like It's done with chimpanzees, like baby chimpanzees, and they had two mock parents for the baby chimpanzee. One was made of wire, and the other one was made of like soft stuff. But the baby chimps went to the ones that were made of wire because even though it wasn't comfortable or nice to feel, it still gave them some kind of compassion. Like maybe there was sounds that were familiar or something. So it kind of reminded me of that for some reason. Just the idea that even if something is not real, you could still have a connection to it. I actually thought this episode was a hit kind of ahead of its time
Oh, sure,
with the
yeah.
idea of like artificial life and whether or not it has any kind of value.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously one of the themes as well, of course, is like the punishment that he's got is like far too cruel, especially since it sounds like he was adamantly defending himself and it wasn't like a clear cut, murder kind of thing. Although we're left to kind of
Mhm.
speculate. There's not a whole lot of like solid answers in that sense. So maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Uh, I like this episode a lot. It might. I think this one, and the first one, are probably my two favorites so far. And I think
Mm.
it's interesting that both of them deal with loneliness. Both of them are about someone who's on their
Yeah, but
own.
isolation
Yeah.
also. Yeah, definitely.
If
I
I
got
hell
some
that
like
far,
Black Mirror vibes also from the idea of like the artificial intelligence in Black Mirror that has sentience and
be
whether
right.
or not
Yeah,
it
be right
acts as
back. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, that episode.
That.
Yeah. Hell, even that first episode, whereas everybody had them chatting up a mannequin at one point, if you recall. This is, if anything, this is just an evolution of that. This is like years
Right.
after they've got
Hey,
moon flight and other things.
I wonder if that mannequin that Rod Serling brought out last week was the same one that was in the
Oh,
car.
yeah, the same prop. It's like, oh yeah, but we've got that lying around in the warehouse.
Yeah, I like that this episode was also very science fiction. It takes place on a asteroid. We get rocket ships.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like full on sci-fi. This is like, you
Yeah.
know, we're in space. We got robots. Like everything about it's like super sci-fi. This one, which I appreciate. I enjoy. That's good.
I really like this episode too. I thought it was a pretty great one. I don't know if it's my favorite. I do still really like the pilot episode, but this one was well done. I didn't really like the acting from Appleby all that much. Kind of sounded like he forgot his lines a couple of times. But overall, I like the main guy. He was really great.
I thought you did a good job because I mean you have so little time, 25 minutes to like go through all these beats. Like
Yeah.
I could easily see this being like a 2 hour movie and like having essentially the same story.
Yeah, I would probably enjoy watching that movie actually.
Yeah, like where you slowly see him like build up to her and you see the relationship form and
Yeah. And
like
she becomes a real person in
mm,
our eyes as well. Yeah. This one kind of jumps to that conclusion and it's still effective, but you're right. If there was more time, it would be much more effective.
and because yeah you could expect the ending that he chooses to stay because he's with her. Although that doesn't really work out because he would never get any more supplies because they're never coming back. So he can't. But like had he completely lost his mind, he could have done that. Or like you could do a dark story where the robot like is evil and like kills him and takes his place, or maybe they like team up to kill one of the other like criminals who have been taken back, or like I don't know. Like there's like so many like ways you could have went with this ending,
Yeah.
but
They could have killed that one guy who was a total dick to him the whole time.
that's true. Yep, yep. But instead, it does this thing where it's just like, no, here's just a very unsatisfying, and not in like a storytelling level, just a very unsatisfying, like unanswered kind of like conclusion, which I think works for the episode because it's this kind of uncertainty to it. Uh,
Yeah. I think this episode's it's very clean. Like there's not a whole lot of filler in it. It's really good.
it's very tight script. It doesn't waste any time.
Hmm.
Everything is important and relevant to what the overall plot is. Uh, it's good, and it's funny having now watched a couple of episodes of the new Twilight Zone, and what they seem to be missing is kind of just knowing what to. Because it's not like a lot of these episodes have like clear endings or clear messages at the end. Because this one I don't think does, but
No.
it keeps it simple and straightforward enough that when the ending comes, it just makes you think about what it meant. Whereas like the last new episode of Twilight Zone from 2019 made me just kind of go, what was that ending supposed to be? Like it's like it
Mm-hmm.
was the opposite of this, where this intrigued me and thought, okay, this is staying with me because it's making me think of what's going through the character's head. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
that new episode of Twilight Zone made me go, they had no idea how to end this. So they had this
Yeah.
convoluted ending to try and give it
It
some
had
sort
like
of
two
meaning.
endings. It had an ending that would have been great, I think, or at least would have been fine. And then they had a second ending of 5 minutes where you're like, this just kind of changed the way I looked at the rest of the episode now, unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this episode also benefits from the idea that even if you guess early on where it's going, because I think you can,
Hmm.
once you meet the robot, you can kind of see where it's probably going to end up going. I don't think it hurts from guessing. I don't think it hurts from you knowing and figuring it out that this is where it's going. Because all of the drama comes from the pain of the decision and the
Hmm.
convincing and the performances. So
Yeah, I totally agree.
yeah, no,
Strong episode.
that is really strong. I think it's probably, well, maybe not better than the first one, but I think it's probably the best one since.
Hmm. Hmm.
That crushing
Yeah.
agreement coming from Tara.
I agree. I don't really have much more to say about it.
Well, in that case, we will mention the Rod Serling section at the end where he tells us about the next episode. And this one I definitely remember because I remember Burgess Meredith being in it.
Yeah, I think everyone remembers this one.
Yeah. So just to actually make sure I get the title right, Time Enough at Last. Yeah. So a henpecked book lover finds himself blissfully alone with his books after a nuclear war. So that is what next week's episode is going to be. Looking forward to checking that one out. And rediscovering it because I definitely remember that one because it's a pretty famous episode.
Yeah, it's been parodied a lot too.
Yeah. So that is that's this week's Twilight Zone. Tara, if you would like to do the entire outro,
You're such a dick.
this will
No, I won't.
build your confidence. Come on.
Okay. You could support Mild Fuzz on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can get some episodes of our shows early, including Twilight Zone reviews. If you donate a little bit more, you can do things like vote for upcoming film reviews. You can catch Wooble89 on Twitter. Is that something you say?
Not usually, but we can say
Mild
that.
Fuzz TV. Is that
At
Mild underscore Fuzz? There it is.
yes, at @mail_fuzz. Yeah.
And that's been us. So thanks, guys. See you next week for a Burgess Meredith episode.
Also, like and subscribe. You can comment and let us know what you thought of the episode down below.
I need a script.
That's all you missed, though. You did everything else.
Okay.
That wasn't too bad. Also, check out me and Tara's sci-fi movie podcast, which will have started by now, called The Ace, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Have a look at that. But that is us indeed. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV in the Twilight Zone.